It's time to shake off the rust for episode 25 of the Penthouse Basements podcast. Topics discussed include homemade pretzels, questionable local news appearances, and how Prego spaghetti sauce got its name. There's also a Penthouse Basements Improv Club update, and we create our own Super Bowl ads. All this and more next on episode 25 of the Penthouse Basements podcast. Since our Halloween episode in late October, it's the Penthouse Basements podcast, episode 25. How's everybody doing?
I think they said it shouldn't be done. It's unwise, but here we are.
I don't think that's true. Positive energy, Dave.
The FCC sent guys with guns to my house, and they were like, "No more podcasts."
Who's going to want to listen to an improv troupe talking about things? And apparently, some people.
That's true.
I have been proven wrong.
We get downloads. People download it. I mean, we trend number one in aimless drifters. That's our audience.
That's probably because I've dated so many.
It's a niche demographic right there.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, let's do the ways to get in touch with the Penthouse Basements. Facebook. Just search for the Penthouse Basements.
Yes, the improv troupe and not the blues musician?
Not the old blues man, no. Okay. Hopefully we've outlived him. That's a horrible thing to say. I apologize.
Yes, we hope you died, sir. No, the views of David Lomison do not necessarily represent those of the Penthouse Basements. Continue.
Yes. Okay, next, email. We have an email address?
We do.
Does anybody remember?
It's the Penthouse Basements improv at Gmail.
At gmail.com. Something like that. You could probably find that.
I have a mini computer on my phone.
On our Facebook page.
Yes.
Which is the one that's not the blues musician.
Right. Just search for the Penthouse Basements. YouTube.
Also probably search for the Penthouse Basement.
Yes.
I should really do my research before we start these.
No. Why start now?
Yes.
At episode 25.
Improvise.
Yes. The platinum anniversary. Or what is it?
It's the silver anniversary.
The silver anniversary, yes.
Couples who have been married for 25 years are supposed to exchange some sort of silver gift.
Like a spoon.
Yeah, I guess, but maybe more something like a ring or a necklace or jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if after 25 years of marriage, a guy got you a spoon?
Well, what kind of spoon? Is it a big spoon or a small spoon?
Gentlemen, she's single. And she's got apparently reasonable expectations.
I also would appreciate just a human body spoon. Somebody warm at night. Especially after 25 years. My goodness.
And now you've turned off all the guys. All right, what else?
Well, yes, okay.
Aimless drifters love spooning. Just
for warmth.
And for a place to stay.
Yeah, you don't ask him to spoon at his place.
No.
Yes, well, this is your host, David Lomison, here with
Dave Johnston.
And Zazy Morgan.
And it is podcast hosting time. It's been too long. Let me just say it's been too long. I'm out of practice, not on my game, so I apologize right off the bat. But we're gonna start with What's Up, Yo, which everybody's been clamoring for. The guys with guns from the FCC, when they broke down my door, they were like, "No more podcasting, but we're gonna miss What's Up, Yo." So it's back.
It's
Dave.
back better than ever.
Yes, Dave, what's up, yo?
Yes. So I was going to talk about how I've taken up reading again. Books, but apparently what people want to hear about is that I made pretzels.
Yeah, pretzels.
I, for like the second time since I received it, have used a stand mixer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually really simple. Making the dough, you turn it on, you put in your flour, your water, your yeast. You mix it up, and then you let it sit for an hour, and the magic bubbles take their effect. You roll them out, you twist them up, you put on your salt and your butter and your egg wash, and you put them in the oven. It's really quite simple.
Do you use the kosher salt?
No, I went online and bought pretzel salt.
Ooh.
It's like
What's the difference?
Well, it's, I think, bigger, coarser grains.
Okay.
The way that
Golf course or green.
golf
You can
course
only
grains.
use them at a golf course.
Well, it was like a 5-pound tub of pretzel salt. So I need to make these things like another 3,000 times.
I wonder if it would have similar effects to Epsom salt. You could take some nice therapeutic baths.
I
Light
guess.
some candles.
Yeah, I could make a nice saltwater bath for myself. I've also heard salt water is good if you have a sore throat. You gargle it for a little
It's
bit.
true.
Oh yeah, if you have a headache, you just dunk your head into a pool of it. Works.
Is that true?
No, I just pulled that out of my rectum.
And if DC finally gets some snow, I can use it to clear up the sidewalks.
It's true.
Then you'll get like a bunch of like Bavarian immigrants like using it, like scooping it up for their pretzels.
No!
Such a waste.
Here's a question.
Why did they sound French? Or Italian was a... Such a waste! I'm going back to my home in the Berlin.
Italians can live in Germany. There's no rules or restrictions.
Not yet. Not until they put up that wall.
Oh man.
No, they took down that wall. I do
Not to
know-
date this episode.
This episode was recorded after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
At least according to Murphy Brown, if I know my facts and trivia.
We're digging deep here.
I do want to know, did you use a mustard as a condiment? Were they served on their own? How was that?
Cheese
looked up?
sauce? Pub cheese?
So I served it with a side of the mustard that I had on hand, which was a nice French Dijon mustard.
Full course seed mustard?
No, this was like a creamy Dijon
Okay.
mustard, imported from France.
I see.
Probably insulting the Germans listening to this. How dare you use French mustard? On a
How can you use a French mustard?
But somebody
Alcohol?
happened to bring to this party a big crock pot full of cheese dip.
Ah, the star of the party.
Yes. So some clever guests went ahead and dunked in that. Really good.
No, did they not have any accompaniments or accoutrements for the cheese? It was
I guess that was intended for chips.
No, they were just like, I bring this vat of cheese everywhere I go, really.
I was kind of surprised to show up with like a family-sized crock pot of cheese dip to a party without offering. It's like, hey, can I bring, a gallon of cheese dip? No, just I brought it. Here it is. Where can I plug it in? Generous and surprising.
That's awesome.
Sound
That's
like my
awesome.
kind of people.
Well, now you have to get more creative with your pretzel making because there exists a wondrous pretzel that already has the cheese inside of the pretzel. Have you heard of this, seen this at all?
I might have seen that in my grocer's freezer.
What
Is it
about?
like a super pretzel variety?
Yes.
I've heard of a combo.
A combo?
Oh, those
Yeah.
like those bagged pretzel
Remember
bites.
the '90s?
Yes. I don't think
90s cat.
it wouldn't be too difficult to do that. You just get, a long thing of cheese and you roll the dough over it before you're twisting it. That should be pretty easy.
Yeah. And also, Annie Ann's, the famous pretzel makers, they have a pepperoni pizza pretzel, where it's basically just a pretzel and they put pepperoni on it and they sprinkle like mozzarella cheese on it. That will take years off your life, but it's very good.
What's the name of that store again?
Annie Ann's.
I like how you pronounce that like you're in the Wizard of Oz. Annie Ann's!
Annie Ann's.
It's my go-to airport food, Annie Ann's.
I'm addicted. I have their app.
Do you really?
Yes, so I occasionally get like a free pretzel or a buy one get one free or $1 off.
Oh, man.
Nice.
All over that.
I knew we had a connection.
They have 2 of them at Pentagon City Mall, I believe, don't they?
Yes, they do. One on the bottom level and one on the top level. Not that I know.
Dave likes that specifically because they don't know he's come back so many times.
Mm-hmm.
He makes an effort to hit them first shift, bottom floor, first shift, top floor. Then once the shift change happens,
Mm-hmm.
They're very
Back again.
judgmental, those pretzel people.
true.
Okay, great stuff.
I accept your challenge for a cheese-filled pretzel.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Get your buddy with the vat of cheese to come back. Just say you're going to have another party, and he comes in with the vat of cheese. Knock him out. Take the vat of cheese. roll his body outside, and use that to make the cheese-filled pretzels.
I'm going to need somebody to help me dispose of that body.
I'm a good enough friend. I can help you with that.
May the record reflect Zazy has raised her hand.
Which is great for an audio podcast.
That was purposely done not on the record, and I have not given my permission for my hand raised to be used, but I'll do a lot for cheese.
May the record reflect that she is winking at this time.
All right.
I just came from Wisconsin where I got fried cheese curds.
Is this your what's up, yo?
No.
No, this is her
That's
one
why I was
accent.
trying to sneak. That's what it's not untrue. Sometimes I do a southern accent, but I usually get
You did that during the show.
the Wisconsin.
That we just had, yeah, which we'll get to.
All
But
right.
firstly, we have to finish What's Up, Yo, because people have been clamoring for it. What's up, Zazy?
Well, actually, this is somewhat tied to jumbo pretzels.
I can't wait for this.
It's really just a side note.
I started doing yoga.
Your story is
Are you
twisted
calling
up
me
with
fat?
mine.
No, I'm not.
A jumbo yoga pretzel? Is that what you're saying I am?
Saying you're very flexible.
Well, we can talk about that. That's a whole
We'll get to
nother
that.
episode.
We'll get to that.
Are you listening,
but-
gentlemen?
I really appreciate you advertising my availability, Dave. I can get you some cards that you can pass out later.
We haven't done a podcast in so long. This episode is just a front to get Zazy
It's
into a relationship.
Let's be honest,
That's
to get Zazy laid. It's been a long time. I was hoping some of the improv people might work out, but so my What's Up Yo, I was walking. I had an event with work at the Capitol, and through a strange series of events, ended up walking a young girl to the Smithsonian American History Museum.
How many times has this happened to you?
Well, that's not the What's Up yet.
Oh, okay.
Get ready.
What's
We
level,
stopped.
man?
To get a pretzel.
Mm.
She got a hot dog. I got a jumbo pretzel with
Oh,
cheese dip.
street pretzels are terrible.
It's a relative statement. So then we kept walking, and I had my hands full. I had a diet soda. I had this. I was trying to figure out how to make small talk with a 17-year-old kid, and a guy stops me. He was a handsome and trustworthy-looking bloke, and said, "Hey, I work for the local news, and we're asking random D.C. residents, are you from the D.C. area?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Apparently there's been a lot of criticism of the media recently on the lack of coverage on issues relating to terrorism and how it's irresponsible journalism, and we're asking people their thoughts on that."
And I'm just going to need your credit card number so you can be in the story.
That's
Totally
right.
on the up and
Yeah.
up.
No, but as far as I know, I haven't checked it out, but I was on the CBS Evening News last night,
Oh.
7 p.m., Channel 9, local news, but I missed it
You
because
didn't see it.
at 7 p.m. I had a prior engagement. So I need
Yes.
to get
Our improv show.
We'll
Now,
get to that.
Did anybody see you on TV?
I haven't heard yet, but if anybody did, at the beginning of this episode, I was doing some side work. I also serve as our technician for this podcast, and confirmed if you have a question, you can email us at thepenthouse.basements@gmail.com.
Ah, that is the email.
That's a little more
address.
real.
Okay,
So let us
yeah.
know if you saw it. Let me know how it looked. Let us know what you thought of my comments. I would rather not even tell you what I said. I'd like to have people tune in.
Well, now, I'm sure they record more people than end up in the final cut. Now, what makes you think that you made it?
He said tune in for a soundbite. But actually, interestingly, journalism it was a little bit questionable because he asked me the question,
With no pants on.
waited for a moment, and then said, "Okay, well," and sort of said it back to me, and he said, "Could you touch on that when you answer?" And so
Meeting
then,
the
Meeting
witness.
you.
and then, yeah,
the
then he
statement.
handed me the mic, and then he asked me, and then he asked it to me again because he didn't feel like my answer flowed as well when I was on the spot.
So you sort of repeated your answer 3 or 4 times.
I did, and then he
Crooked
said,
media.
and then he said,
Fake news.
he said, "Come back." He said, "Come back." He said, "Tune in at 7 for your sound bite," which sounds like,
yeah.
if anything, it might just be being like, Sure.
That's right. So NAMBLA's in town. Let's see what the citizens think. Sure.
I'm just imagining just like a half a second clip of you saying news, and then it goes on to somebody else.
I really hope that's what happened because I did not sound smart.
Or maybe you were B-roll, so they like showed you talking while they're voiceover. We talked to many people today about this, and they said very interesting things, and then they cut to somebody else.
I can see that happening.
Well, hopefully the media won't railroad you the way they did Homer Simpson during his alleged sexual harassment when he was trying to grab the gummy Venus de Milo.
A classic episode.
Well, what our listeners might not know is that I'm really much more beauty than brains in this operation, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if I was just used for my beautiful visage.
Yeah.
Did you remember to get his handsome business card?
No.
Or his name?
You know,
I'm sure he got yours.
He did. And my credit card information and my social security number. Yeah.
You gotta put your name on the little bottom third.
I don't remember his name, and I think he seemed disappointed. I think I answered it really, really well when he asked me the question, and then once I had the microphone in my hand, I choked. And then I really wanted him to interview the little girl that I was with, but then she was too shy.
Oh.
My What's Up Yo is really going downhill quick. Let's move on.
Well, I mean, you were on the news.
Maybe.
Okay, What's Up Yo for me quickly. One of our comrades in improv, Thanksgiving 2007, they also do a podcast, a couple of their members, and it's called We Know About That. And I just want to plug that quickly. Very funny podcast. They usually pick a topic. During Christmas, they talked about Krampus. They just did one about the moon landing, if it's fake or real. And funny podcast, local DC, just like us. They do theirs more consistently. They've only just started, and they're already at 10 episodes.
Wow.
So they're closing in on us.
Is it educational? Do they give you actual, real information about things, or is it sort of invented?
Yes, but the funny thing about it is they're doing the episode, and their info that they're giving is consisting of them reading off of Wikipedia during the episode.
All right.
That's one of the charming things about it, and they have a good rapport with each other. So, check out We Know About That podcast, hosted by two of the members of the great long-form improv group, Thanksgiving 2007.
They really are great.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're really good.
Well, we'll get to them because next is the Penthouse Basements update.
That's right.
Which is the name of the improv group that I, Dave Johnston, and Zazy are in. And Dave, we just had a show last night.
We did.
At the Pinch.
Yes.
In D.C.
Yes.
Columbia Heights is the closest metro stop.
Yeah.
I feel like it's equidistant between Columbia Heights and Petworth metros.
I'll let you pause right now if you need to look up what equidistant means.
And then
It might be a made-up word.
check your closest metro map to confirm.
But yeah, it's 14th and Otis Northwest, roughly. And it was a fantastic show. It was another one of our improv showcases.
Yes.
So
go into what that means, Dave.
we do short form improv, which is 2 to 4 minute games. And we do them in this case sort of as buffers between long form improv, which is 15 to 20 minutes of a single scene. So we would do 2 or 3 games, and then there would be a 15-minute long form, and then we would do another 2 or 3 games, and then another 15-minute long form troupe, and then we would end with 2 or 3 games. So we're sort of hosting, opening and closing, and there's other groups that perform as well.
Yes, and Thanksgiving 2007 is one of those other groups.
That's right. We performed with them at least twice.
Yeah, they've actually been with us since the beginning. The shows at the Pinch that you were not in attendance of, they performed. So
All
I think
right.
they've been with us
3 or 4 times then.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the show went well. Venue's good. I enjoyed the venue. A nice divey kind of bar. You go down into the basement and it literally looks like a tornado hit it. but then they try their best to sort of kind of make it look somewhat presentable with like decorations, like there's random records hanging on the walls, but they're not really hung up in any rhyme or reason, so it looks like somebody that had just been hit on the head hung the records up. So they're not really in any kind of feng shui way.
More of a functional space.
Yeah, more of a feng shui.
Functional space.
Well,
Yes.
and it has a long history in DC. I can tell you that actually one of my favorite local DC bands all met at an open mic night at the Pinch.
Oh, nice.
They're called Picnibus with Navi. I highly recommend you check them out.
Can you say that name again?
Picnibus. I have their sticker on my handy dandy notebook. I'll show it around later.
All
but
right.
but it's PICNICPBUS.
Premium listeners, glance at your phone right now and you'll see a picture of that sticker.
Now, what is their musical style?
It is so unique. In fact, I can do another plug. If you'd like to hear or learn more about it, you should check out another podcast I'm involved with called Have You Heard DC?
Ah, yes.
They were our first episode interview. We did it at one of their live shows. Navi is sort of the front man, and he is a Sri Lankan, very theatrical rapper / singer. I will say that Will Sauter is in another band called B-Side Shuffle, whose frontman is neighbors with
Kevin Bacon.
Dave, with our buddy Dave here. They see each other walking dogs occasionally.
Is this true?
Yes.
Yes, very occasionally. I saw them once.
That's an occasion. And they're also in a fantastic band together called B-Side Shuffle.
Mm.
I had no idea you were a DC band historian.
I do like the music.
That's what her other podcast is about.
So I'm thinking, like, on the next episode of Pawn Stars, they're going to be like, I got a buddy of mine who's an expert in DC bands. Let me give her a call, get her down here, and we'll see what we can do. And it's going to be you.
I like that idea. I like it a lot.
And you're going to be on TV.
I need to brush up on the whole go-go dance or go-go music.
What would be the memorabilia?
I'm guessing a sticker. Yes, you have a question. You're raising your hand on a podcast.
I think one of the strongest memorabilia pieces you could have of the DC music history scene would be a photo or caption of some of the very well-known street art of a graffiti artist named DC Dan, who was all over the city and represented and has been connected to what they say is the history and the birth of go-go music, and Henry Rollins actually made an entire documentary around it and premiered it.
Go-go music started here in DC?
Oh, yes.
I had no idea.
Nice.
It's pretty limited to the DMV area.
Wow, we
You wouldn't hear
better
it many other places.
learn about that.
So
What were
to
we talking
clarify,
These
just
stars-
so that our listeners know and don't get confused. This
Wake
isn't
up!
70s.
There,
This
go
isn't 70s go-go.
Okay.
Like disco. This is it almost sounds like super heavy drum beat, like scream rap metal mixed with a love child of Rasta music.
Rasta music, okay.
What's-
That's not, how is Rasta dissimilar to reggae?
That was the word I could not think of.
Oh, okay. Okay, well.
Moving on. And we're back.
We've got an education of go-go music scene in general, DC. You're listening to it right here on the Penthouse Basements podcast. What's Up, Yo is in the books.
All right, did you do yours?
Oh, wait, no. The Penthouse Basements update is in the books.
Yes.
But one other thing I wanted to mention. There was a woman at the show,
Yes.
and me and Jeremy were standing outside
Yes.
afterwards,
Yes.
and she came up, she gave us a business card, and she was like, I'm looking for acts. Paid acts in the Silver Spring area. And so she gave us this business card, and, Paid acts, it's coming.
Wow.
To split between the 7 of us.
Yeah. Here's the business card right here.
There it is. Finally, improv is going to pay off.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that would be great to have paid acts.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
There was another very interesting audience member at our show last night. I'm told there was a former member of Congress in the audience.
It's not untrue.
Orrin Hatch.
Can't you just say something is true? So coy, boys. Can you tell us about this?
I certainly can. In our audience was Congresswoman Linda Smith, who was a member representing Vancouver, Washington area in the U.S. House of Representatives in the early 80s under the Reagan administration. She was... She was.
That was our producer.
She is very fiery and has been controversial in many ways. But she was known for being the kind of rogue Republican, one of the swing votes, who was hated by Newt Gingrich, who was Speaker of the House at the time, for pushing back on a lot of the party issues.
Okay, so...
She also won by a write-in vote, which was like one of the first time or second times that it happened in U.S. history.
What I'm more interested in is why she was at our show.
Because you wouldn't come because you like improv.
Yes. She was born on a small farm in Washington.
She actually did sharecropping.
Wait a minute. If I'm remembering my middle school history correctly, that was when somebody would be an immigrant to America, and then to pay back their...
That's indentured servitude.
Okay.
Sharecropping is different.
All right.
That's when you share a crop with someone.
Often there are people who are being trafficked or exploited for labor that are involved in sharecropping, but what sharecropping means is that you're a group of people who's often transient, moving throughout the agricultural industry, because not all crops are active and needing to be cropped or harvested at the same time.
And we're back!
The show was great.
Yeah, it was. It went really great. Yeah, can't wait to... They're going to invite us back first Tuesday of every month. So if you're in the D.C. metro area around Columbia Heights Metro and you got nothing to do, 7 o'clock... The Pinch is the name of the club.
Yes.
Come check us out.
Typically,
Free.
First Tuesday of the month.
First Tuesday of every month.
If you have something to do, I'd say it's worth canceling your plans.
Right, yeah, definitely.
There's also open mic stand-up after that, so you can have a full night of comedy.
Apparently we pissed them off.
Well, because we brought all of the crowd, and when our show was over, the crowd left, and I understand they did not have very many people to hear the comedy.
Well, that's
which is frustrating because you see a big crowd, you're very excited, and then they all leave.
Yeah.
I will say, and I know the guy was struggling because he really had nobody in the audience, but the first or second guy to go on, I recognized that challenge, and the only people left were at the back, so I made a point to be like, I'm going to sit up close to the front and be attentive and laugh as much as I think is appropriate.
So you stayed for the stand-up comedy
Some
afterwards.
of the stand-up comedy.
How did it go?
Well, I wish I'd stayed a little longer. I had some things to take care of, but I can tell you the second person was great. The first person did have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I'm sure he's a very funny man. But then he started, he was mostly going into one of those, I'm mad at the audience. Like you know when stand-up comics will go to that, like, oh, nobody's laughing, it's the audience's fault. Like, you guys are just being awesome. Apparently you guys don't get that joke. And then he started going into, guess everybody hears the improv scene. And
he said that?
Yeah, and like started to kind of like shit on improv a little. And then he said, did you come for the improv tonight, ma'am? And singled me out because I was, he may or may not have said ma'am, I'm a Southern woman. And so I said I was actually in the improv, and he was like, I can't even remember what he said, but he wasn't very nice about it.
What an asshole.
Right? I was the only person who sat in his fucking audience.
Well, we could in future shows, I suppose, incorporate some stand-up in between the things.
No,
if we
no
want,
more. We're not
if
helping
we want
them
to
out.
endear ourselves to the rest of the comedunity. The comedunity.
Well, I think we've already opened it up. I actually think some of my friends who are in a sketch group might do a performance.
Whoa,
That's actually pretty cool.
So-
We're going to be hosting our own comedy cavalcade.
Yeah,
Very
Capital
soon.
Comedy Connections. Not spelled with K's.
Right now, C's.
What the problem is, if we are the ones drawing the crowd, what would make sense is have this open mic comedy go first. But we're all folks that are excited to be done by 9. I don't want to stay there till 11, so that'll never happen. And
Well, okay, so the groups that performed with us, Thanksgiving 2007, as we said before, quality, great long-form improv. Like, I would say of all the long-form improv groups that I've seen consistently, like, they are, without a doubt, the best.
They are very, very excellent, and I think their shtick is finding a way to end every long-form scene with Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Somehow it comes back to Thanksgiving, and I think that's good shtick.
Yes, and the other group was, what was it, the Bowery Boys? What was it?
Correct. Yeah, it was actually their first time they came up with the name. So they're both very experienced improvisers who have worked in different troupes together. But Aaron Merle, who was one of the 2 performers, the other guy's name was Zach, something or other. He...
Zazy clearly has her favorite.
We have great respect for everyone who we perform with. Frank, what's his name in Zada?
The guy with the face.
I know that Aaron is they might both be in a well-known improv group called the Farragut's, if you're in on the local improv scene in D.C.
I wonder what the demo is for people that listen to this podcast that aren't in the DMV area.
I know my mom, hence why I can sound sketchy from time to time.
Don't worry, we inserted enough and we're back, so you'll be able to easily edit stuff out. I'll re-listen to this, but
definitely need to come to Zazy when I'm looking for what to do this weekend. Your mind is like the events calendar at the back of the free little news magazine. It's like on Friday night, this band is going to be performing at this venue, and this stand-up comedian is going to be hilarious at this venue.
That's awesome.
The next 2 shows I'm going to are actually out of town.
That does not help us.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, they were really, really great, and the other group is called the Farragut's, that they are, I think, both long-form parts of.
Nice. Well, we'll keep a lookout for them in the future.
They were really funny.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Okay. Feature segment time.
Yes.
Not to date this episode. So this is what I was thinking. We're going to talk about Super Bowl ads. Last I heard, I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about it's like $2 million for a 30-second spot.
I think it's more than that. Like
More than that now. $5 million now. It's an insane amount of money now to get an ad for the Super Bowl. We won't say which Super Bowls just passed because that'll date the episode. So I'll just, Super Bowl, blah, blah, and then you can edit in the number. We just rerun this episode.
The one with the Roman numerals.
Yes. Super Bowl 51.
With the halftime show person who may or may not have worn meat dresses in the past.
That's right, Prince. Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah.
Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
The Who.
There was an episode of The Simpsons that they did around the Super Bowl where they did that very thing, not with the number, but with the teams.
Yes, the Atlanta Falcons. I remember that.
Okay, so what makes a memorable Super Bowl ad? I'm going to open up the floor to you guys first off. We're going to talk about Super Bowl ads. Zazy, what do you think makes a memorable Super Bowl commercial?
I think it has to be relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Evoke some emotion. And that could either happen by making you angry. I certainly remember the, who was it? Who's the Tim Tebow anti-abortion ad will always be burnt in my memory. But moreover, the ones that I really remember with fondness are like the Talking Baby from E-Tray.
Which was not aborted. That Talking Baby was not aborted.
I hope not, because that would be like way late term.
Well, then Tebow wins then.
Yeah, so I think cute animals talking, babies doing adorable stuff.
I remember the CG on the baby's mouth. That was incredibly frightening. No, not good.
No.
But for the time, was it not good? I feel like if you watch Forrest Gump now and see it looks like
it looks like garbage.
Talking,
yeah, it looks like hot garbage.
But then is that the truth of that time period? Not to date us, but that was probably 30 years ago. I don't.
Or maybe 2 years ago. You don't know. Dave, what makes a good Super Bowl ad?
I think they need to be simple, without relying too much on dialogue. The two Super Bowl ads that come to my mind was a year or two ago, the little kid in the Darth Vader outfit.
Yes.
Who keeps trying to sort of manipulate things, and then he tries it on Dad's car, and Dad's inside with the fob, and something happens. Cart starts. And then another one was a Budweiser ad. It was like the very first one of the Super Bowl several years ago, where the guy's on a hot date, and he's like, I'm going to go get a couple of beers. And he's like dancing with the beers in his hand in his kitchen because he's so excited, and he goes to open one up, and it sprays all over the wall. And so that sort of simple physical comedy, I think, is very memorable. In a room where people are going to be talking and using the bathroom, I think that's the way to go.
And I remember, not this past Super Bowl, which was Super Bowl Doritos had consistently had those quick,
Jesus Christ,
funny,
fucking Doritos.
Well,
sorry, Zazy's mom.
Quick, funny, hard, quick hitting ads that got the point across. Doritos, funny, it sold the brand, and they were memorable because they were all consistently funny.
Right.
But they didn't do any ads this past Super Bowl, which was unfortunate because I was kind of looking forward to them.
Yeah, that's their choice. I think they might have gotten priced out or figured that the increased sales of $3 bags of chips did not justify spending $10 million on commercials.
Although, if you were playing Super Bowl ad bingo and Doritos was on your card, it was still able to be filled in because I forget what company.
Well, there was off-brand Doritos.
No, somebody literally in a non-Doritos, in a different ad, they said Doritos.
Oh, they said Doritos specifically?
Yes.
Because I remember there were a couple where they were eating Doritos, but they didn't actually name the Doritos.
No, they did. I think I coughed or something, and we didn't hear it, but it was literally, they literally said Doritos.
You were trying to fuck me over on that game. I think we can both agree I beat you.
Yeah, well, you did. I only got 4th place. But, that's neither here nor there. So, I agree. And I think one of the other consistent things about memorable Super Bowl ads is surprise celebrity cameos, I think is a big one. Can't really think of any off the top of my head.
Anthony Hopkins was on.
Yes. Which ad
he was in
for?
a Transformers movie or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Emma Watson she was in 7 things from Mad Men. That chick from Mad Men that was the secretary to John Hamm.
Christina Hendricks.
No.
The
first secretary to John Hamm. That gets Prego. Peggy.
Didn't watch the show.
Peggy on Mad Men.
The redhead.
Yeah. No, the redhead is the head of all the secretaries.
That's Christina Hendricks.
Yeah, that's not who I'm
talking about. Oh, that's not who you're talking about.
It's John Hamm, so it gets Prego by the other guy.
And we're back.
Who else is on?
You just always like to mention Prego because of your mom.
What a segue.
So tell the story about...
I do want to hear this story.
Yes, tell the story about Prego. Not getting pregnant. Unless it does involve it.
A few days ago when we were spending... when we were in the shop prepping for this podcast, I started to talk a little bit about the fact that my folks met in advertising. And Dave and David said, "That's wonderful, save it for the podcast." So I've been waiting for days to talk about it. I'm ready now.
You're just bursting at the seams. Like, I gotta get this out. I gotta get it out.
My mother, she was this hip broad. I'm very proud of who my mom was and is.
This is literal.
Nice save.
Literal madman. Like she was She was on the cusp of that.
I would say my grandfather was like a madman. He was
a madman.
He was the late 50s advertising world. My parents were late 70s, early 80s. My dad for much longer. But my mother, young single mom.
She came up with By Menon.
She went to Woodstock. She hung out at Studio 54.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And
Dirk Diggler.
I do remember once, this guy, not Dirk Diggler, I'm just being in my college dorm watching Studio 54, and this guy
with Mike Myers
was all wasted in our dorm room, and he was like, dude, you said your mom went to Studio 54? And I was like, yeah. I'm trying to sleep and wishing this guy would just leave. And he was like, dude, your mom must have been hot. It was awesome. But anyway, she was this kind of ahead of her time New York lady, and she was working on an account for a tomatoes. It was actually created to be the new counter to Campbell's soup. So they were going to start with tomato sauce, but do many other things.
They were going to call the product originally "Fuck Campbell's soup." They were like, "I don't know if that's going to fly."
Well, in the first few ads, that was the tagline.
Nice. Prego, fuck Campbell's soup.
It was like
giving it away.
7.
She's just about to get to the important part of the story.
Yeah,
I'm told.
On that campaign, she was in the room coming up with ideas for how do we make this happen, and she said it was her 13th in a list of different ideas. She named Prego tomato sauce.
Okay, now the reason that I wanted to hear about that is because I have been to Italy, and one of the common phrases you get if you go to you read the guidebooks and you talk to people is that prego is Italian basically for you're welcome.
Grazie.
Right. That's thank you, and that's you're welcome. So why did she know? Did she know that she was naming a pasta sauce you're welcome, which seems pretty haughty for a friggin' pasta sauce?
Well, I think that's the point. Is
you're welcome for this amazing pasta sauce.
Yeah. Yes, she was absolutely aware, and I think all Prego, as a child who has probably gotten some of my education funded and Prego royalties, I would say.
Yeah, nice. Every time there's a Prego commercial,
that is not a true statement.
Like a 10-cent check.
Did she ever say why she used that name?
She said it was actually like a side thought of her number one choice. I know she wanted it to be named after
Mussolini's. What? This doesn't work?
No, it was going to be Zazy tomato sauce. It was going to be after a street in Little Italy in New York, but they did not pick that one.
Ah, okay.
So it was a brainstorming sesh.
So she just threw out some ideas, and this is the one that stuck.
Correct.
Let me throw some shit against the wall and see what sticks.
The other famous supermarket tomato sauce is ragu, which is, I believe, Italian for sauce. So, or sometimes it's like a specific meat sauce, but it's basically sauce. So
our families had like a long-standing bitter war.
With the ragu people?
The ragu namers, not the people are fine. Just the ad agency.
Both, like the most famous American canned pasta sauces are named sauce, and you're welcome. And if any actual Italian goes walking through our supermarket, they're going to be like, "What the hell is going on here?"
What about there is the good old reliable Hunt's?
No, Hunt's is crap.
Yeah,
it's still good old reliable.
I would not touch Hunt's with a 30-foot pole.
Hot food takes from Dave Johnston.
That's right.
And by Hunt's, he means sea hunts.
Also true about Dave.
Moving right along.
Okay, so we've established what makes a memorable Super Bowl ad. So, Penthouse Basements, we've got an extra $5 million for the next Super Bowl. What's going to be in our ad? What do you think we should do for our 30-second Super Bowl ad to get the Penthouse Basements brand out into the open?
Okay, so can I ask a clarifying question?
Go ahead.
It's an ad specifically promoting the Penthouse Basements, not what the Penthouse Basements would be the pinnacle ad. Correct?
See, I have thought about what would be an amazing Super Bowl ad.
Okay, yeah.
Our amazing Super Bowl ad.
Okay, so
in our 4 meetings, we had been writing.
That's what we'll do then. We'll create. Let's say Prego has come to us and have been like, "Hey, we want you to make us a good Super Bowl ad, the Penthouse Basement."
Finally, your German accent comes out.
So we're making a Prego Super Bowl ad. So first off, I'm going to call it right now. Channing Tatum is in this ad. Oh, do you have a bigger star to put in?
No, but can we afford him?
Could I throw this out?
Already spending $5 million for the ad time.
What if Channing Tatum pulled one of our...
Say his name right!
You're wiping the drool from your face and say his name.
So, okay.
I have an over-aggressive drool gland. Relax. I think that Channing Tatum
Still not there.
Channing Tatum could take a note from a often featured celebrity at the Penthouse Basement, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and actually go junior style and be Prego in the ad.
And he'll give birth to a tomato. A fresh tomato, which they will use to make the sauce.
I don't think that... Having had fresh eggs straight from that I picked out of the hen coop, all I could think as I was breaking them was just feels like egg vagina. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
I have no idea what you mean. All right, so that's one way of going about it. There's no such thing as a bad idea in a brainstorming session.
That's right.
Except for this one. No, so the Channing Tatum gives birth to a giant tomato that we use to make the sauce. You're not a fan of?
So
that's gold.
I had conceived this. If you're familiar with Morgan Spurlock,
yes,
he was a documentarian who did Super Size Me.
And
sure.
Let me just say about Morgan Spurlock. This is a tangent that is.
He stole your look.
No, that is his one thing, and he has ridden the coattails of Super Size Me for years.
Well, he had a second or third movie. Which is why I bring it up. It was about advertising, and he funded that movie with product placements. He got sponsorship for the movie, and that was how he paid for the movie. So in the movie, he's going to this brand's offices and talking with them about their product and talking about advertising.
Advertising?
No, not exactly. I mean, it used advertising to pay for the movie. It just sort of analyzed how it works in our society. And so you got Palm Wonderful to pay for some of the movie, and Mane and Tail horse shampoo also paid for part of the movie. So what if, for our Super Bowl ad, we did something similar, and we found 15 brands that could not afford their own Super Bowl ad.
Right,
and we put 15 brands in one 30-second spot. Yes.
Trojan condoms, Adam and Eve, whatever lube company is there.
Well,
KY jelly.
We've got the FCC to think about there. But I was thinking, Channing Tatum.
Yes.
He lands on a plane, brand of the airline.
Is he flying the plane?
No. Well, sure. All right, he's flying the plane. He gets off the...
Beyonce lip sync?
Yes, as Beyonce is lip syncing.
Our producer keeps weighing in, and I appreciate that about him.
He gets off the plane. He grabs a bag of chips, brand. He grabs a soda, brand. He gets in his car, brand. He checks his auto insurance, brand. He starts driving.
What about his plane insurance?
He goes to the movie. He buys a ticket for a movie that's about to come out, brand. And he's in the theater. He gets a phone call, and he's got great service, brand, cell phone brand. And I forget, you come up with your own ending.
Well, no, I mean, then...
If I'm following you, the amount of money we would make placing this Super Bowl ad would really...
So this is basically a Ponzi scheme Super Bowl ad.
Exactly.
Like an Adam Sandler movie.
I love it.
We're promoting these brands in our ad to make more money than we would use to spend for the ad.
Exactly. This is a money-making operation for us.
Yes, that is a great idea. And we should edit this out. It's that good of an idea.
Well, I would also say that what we bring to it is that if our whole group combined have the wits about us, to actually make it entertaining.
Well, we don't.
In the process.
Yeah, we're not known for our wits.
Well, I know some people.
Do you?
Yeah, my mom named fucking Prego.
Well, she made Prego. You're overstepping your bounds
I said
here.
named.
She named
Named.
Prego.
She
We're gonna
named it. Okay.
bring her out to the next podcast, and we're going to have her explain why she picked Prego.
You can't ride that forever, Zazy. You murdered that hobo, and as they're dragging you away, but my mom named Prego. She named Prego, damn it.
She's actually said to me before, like, you know, I did other things in my life. Like, all my friends are like, oh, your mom, she did Prego. I was like, no.
Well, that's like going to be your Jeopardy anecdote. All right, Zazy Morgan is here from Washington, D.C. It says here that there's nothing interesting about you, but that your mother named Prego pasta sauce.
And then you say, I don't trust you without your mustache, Trebek.
That's true. I really don't.
Moving right along. This next contestant.
That's not true at all. My number one most interesting fact about myself would be that I'm in the Penthouse Basement.
Yeah.
DC's number one.
And it's a privilege that you've been a part of our final podcast. Anyways, that's
Schmaltz.
about all the time we've got left here for tonight. I'd like to thank our guests.
Dave Johnston.
Zazy Morgan.
And I'm your fearless host, David Lomison. Thanks for listening, and sayonara.